What is going on, everybody? Thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of Mikasa Sukasa. And of course, as always, I am your humble host, Niko House. So, as many of you have probably already heard by now, Donald Trump has decided to go ahead and prove Tulsi's point that he is indeed a mammal of the female variety that may bark when asked to speak. I'm not going to say exactly what it is, but I think you and I both will know because he's decided to deploy troops to Saudi Arabia for Saudi Arabia's protection, which is interesting because last time I checked, Saudi Arabia got their own army. Saudi Arabia damn sure has its own money. And to be quite honest with you, even if Iran did attack Saudi Arabia's oil fields, like even if, right, it ain't our problem. It is not our problem. It isn't. We can't even defend the Yemeni people from Saudi Arabia's tyranny. Oh, that's right, because we're funding most of it. But we can't even defend actual innocent people who are being tortured and displaced every single day. And yet, because of an oil supply getting attacked, we're supposed to just, you know, we're at Saudi Arabia's beck and call at that point. As long as it's oil, if it's a child, you know, we got to deliberate. We can't just be going to save every, you know, man, woman, and child who's being bombed to death. Like, we can't. But if it's an oil field, we got to hop right to it. That's basically what Donald Trump is telling the world. And this is ridiculous. Now, I want to give a little bit of clarification before we get started. Tulsi has been calling out this relationship that Donald Trump has had with Saudi Arabia. She's alleged that Donald Trump was Saudi Arabia's bitch in the past. This was not a new development at all. But also, the Khashoggi death situation, Donald Trump didn't really do anything about that either. So it kind of bolstered her point. Then we fast forward to now, where Iran's weapons supposedly were used to attack Saudi Arabia. But here's the issue with that claim. It's really coincidental that after we tried to claim that Iran attacked the Japanese oil tanker, and it was a lie, and then we were about to conduct a military strike on Iran. That fell through. Thank you, Tucker Carlson. I'm always going to have a question mark at the end of that. It's so sad that Tucker Carlson has to be the voice of reasoning when it comes to foreign policy in Trump's administration. So that was an epic failure. But we do know, once again, that the United States has been trying to increase aggression with Iran. Like, it's almost like they're trying to spark a war. And I don't think anybody would disagree that they probably are. So that failed. Bolton is gone. And now we fast forward to recently where Saudi Arabia's oil fields were attacked. Now, it needs to be made very, very, very clear. Iran has denied that they attacked those oil fields. They denied it. Now, if you know one thing about Iran or their military, if they attack you, they're very clear about the attack. And they're very clear about why they decided to attack you. Just think about it from this perspective. Let's use the Socratic method here. What does Iran have to gain from attacking Saudi Arabian oil fields or oil supplies? What strategic advantage does that get them? And if it does give them such a strategic advantage, why haven't they been doing this regularly to Saudi Arabia? I mean, Iran's army is superior to them. They have the 8th ranked largest army in the world with over 500,000 active duty members. So why, I mean, they have the military advantage. They have, I mean, obviously Iran's population is massive. The terrain is much more diverse and much more harder to navigate because you would have to come into their show. You have to come to Iran. They're not going to go to you for what? So what military advantage do you get by attacking Saudi Arabia's oil field? You don't get one. Iran is worried that Saudi Arabia is going to be competition? What Saudi Arabia is able to partner with all of the Western countries in every way that you can imagine. They get, I mean, we know how that game goes. Saudi Arabia is coddled. Not only Saudi Arabia, but the UAE also. So if they're coddled, how is it that Iran was still able to almost become the #1 distributor of oil in the world, despite the fact that Saudi Arabia is given every single advantage? Because Iran, one, they have a lot of oil. In other words, Saudi Arabia, even with all the help in the world, they still couldn't outcompete Iran. Now, some would make the argument, this is the only thing, I won't say I disagree with Tulsi here, because I do agree with her. It does make us out to look like Saudi Arabia's bitch. That's what it does. But I disagree slightly on this point. I think that people are greatly exaggerating how how much this is tied to our quote unquote loyalty to Saudi Arabia and the quote unquote oil supply. People forget that we make the majority of our oil now. Obama bragged about this. It wasn't, and he shouldn't have, but he did. But Obama bragged about this. Here's the thing. I know a lot of people think we get a lot of oil from Saudi Arabia, but it's not true. In fact, for as far as our imports are concerned, 40% of the oil comes from Canada. The next in line is Saudi Arabia at about 9%, and then I think it's Mexico at 7%. We even get 5% from Venezuela still. I don't know how that's happening, but at least that's what it was last year. So in other words, why are we risking an all-out Middle Eastern war? Like it would be, I mean, a bloodbath for a country where we only import 9% of their oil, because it's not about Saudi Arabia in reality. It's not about their personal oil supply. It is about making sure that Iran is never legitimate competition. Because the Houthi were the ones, the Yemeni Houthi militia were the ones who claimed the attack, which would make sense because they do get weapons from Iran. The Houthi claimed the attack. And they're not shy about claiming the attack, considering that Saudi Arabia has quite literally been bombing children on school buses. So like Kyle talked about this on Twitter. Kyle Kalinske, if you don't want to be attacked by Houthi militia, maybe stop bombing their children. It's pretty simple foreign policy, if you ask me. I don't think it's that complicated. And it isn't. So Iran denied the attack. The Houthi claimed the attack. Once again, let's just use our common sense here. If Iran wanted to claim the attack, they would. They've never been shy by it in the past. But two, the Houthi have a reason to attack you. They have a whole reason to attack you. But it's, once again, it's almost as if this has nothing to do with the Houthi or Yemen, Saudi Arabia, or their oil supply. Because let's be real, I seriously doubt that this is the first time Saudi Arabia's had its oil supplies attacked. What it ultimately comes down to is the action. When it comes to foreign policy, the action, of course, is important to observe, but the reaction from all parties is probably more important, especially when it comes to the United States. Why is it that instead of saying the first thing that should have went out, first of all, why are we jumping so quickly to Saudi Arabia's aid in this regard? In my entire lifetime, we have never been just boldly saying, "Oh, we gotta help out Saudi Arabia. We got to, man. That's our homie from down the street, man. We got it." No, a lot of our relationship with Saudi Arabia in the UAE has been kind of off the books, if you will, because I mean kind of a monarchy that cuts off women's heads for dancing in the street. So as you can imagine, keeping that relationship off the book benefits our public relations image. So we've kept that off the book, but all of a sudden when Trump gets in office, at the same time as that we've been trying to spark a war, a military conflict with Iran, now we're publicly coming to the aid of Saudi Arabia while simultaneously blaming Iran. So which part of that holds more weight? Why we've been allies with Saudi Arabia, but we've never come to the aid of Saudi Arabia publicly and militarily, officially, like we just did. And then on top of that, we just immediately, Trump tweeted out about Iran, immediately went to blame Iran, but mentioned nothing about the Houthi. Mentioned nothing about all of the realistic justifications that the Houthi would have for attacking Saudi Arabia. It would have been more believable if they would have said, hey, the Houthi attacked using Iran's weapon. That's an Iranian-backed group. Therefore, we have to react. I would have still been against it. I'm like, well, you shouldn't be attacking and killing their kids. But with that being said, I would have been against it, but it would have been more believable. But you just went straight to Iran, like Iran has ever had a problem claiming a military strike. Now, what is the ultimate goal of this? Some of you might ask. The ultimate goal is to put United States troops in harm's way. Absolutely. I would like to reference you all back to the Iran deal. The Iran deal was always supposed to be violated. It was supposed to be violated so that we could have an official reason on paper to take to the U.S. or the UN Security Council. I always call it the U.S. Security Council because it basically does what the United States wants to anyway. But we could go to the UN Security Council. We can go to the United Nations and say, hey, look, we have to put sanctions on Iran now, and it's perfectly justified. They violated the agreement. It's on paper right here. Think about Obama's statement on the chemical weapons, the quote unquote red line. Well, you know what, Assad? I'm not going to send any troops over there now, but if you use those chemical weapons, that's the red line. You cross that line, I'm going to send some troops over there and I'm going to start bombing the hell out of you. But if that is the one thing you could do. So of course, what's the one thing that happens? Chemical weapons get fired off. Coincidentally enough. So if you put troops in harm's way, understand it is not going to take an investigation. There will be no inquiry. The moment that one soldier dies, there will be an all-out war. And that is the goal. That is what the goal has always been. It's the quote-unquote red line tactic that we've seen employed over and over and over and over again. It's not new. It's not original. But Iran is a problem. I know people are making this connection with the petrodollar, and that is true to a degree. The petrodollar is a major player, but Saudi Arabia getting their oil supply attacked doesn't do anything to the petrodollar because Iran has a lot of oil. Like the oil supplies are still there. Like the money to be made off of oil is still there. But it's not about the petrodollar. It's about the fact that if you are going to be an empire, which the United States is, we have a different kind of empire. It's a little bit different. Our empire is kept together through unfair trade agreements where we don't have to deal with your problems per se, but we still get all the benefits of your country's growth. We control what you grow and can't grow and export and import and all that good stuff. And that's how we expand our empire, through these trade agreements like NAFTA, like TPP, even the treaty, NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, same thing. That's how we have expanded our empire. The World Bank and ICC, and that's our empire. Even the UN to a degree. So the petrodollar is only it's only a major player in so much that if you're going to be an empire, you have to control the number one resource in the world. And what is the number one resource in the world? The same resource that caused us to overthrow Mossadegh in 1954 in Iran. The same resource that caused us to put sanctions on Venezuela and then ban all their diplomats from coming to the United States, taking away their ability to negotiate the sanctions away. And of course, the demonization of Maduro in an attempted coup, paid for and funded by the United States. I know a lot of people want to assign this crazy, complicated meaning to all of this, and it's not complicated at all. It's really not. Iran has a lot of oil. When we put those initial sanctions on them, it was because a satellite got launched into the sky. They didn't even violate the Iran nuclear deal. But Obama put the sanctions on them anyway. Or was it Obama? I feel like he did. No, I don't think it was. Oh, was it Obama? They had a couple of sanctions put on them, but I know that the initial sanctions were definitely because a satellite got launched to the sky. Because that's what it was about. It was about, they know that Iran, first of all, if Iran really wanted a nuclear weapon, I wouldn't be all that opposed to it. Because, look at what you're in the middle of. You're in the middle of a bunch of countries who hate you. Right? You're in the middle of a bunch of countries who hate you that all have nuclear weapons except for you. And the nuclear deal basically says, hey, can you just not have a nuclear weapon, because all the countries that are our allies are really upset and they have nuclear weapons, and if you have one, they may fire them. We don't know, but we don't want to take that chance. So can you just not pay attention to everybody else with nuclear weapons and not make your own? Just be okay with everyone around you having those nuclear weapons. But it's not complicated. Iran wants economic autonomy. They want economic sovereignty. They want sovereignty over the number one source of their economy. And every time, like I said, they were about to be the number one exporter of oil in the entire world. And that's when the sanctions started getting slapped onto them. So yes, it is about the petrodollar, but it isn't going to go up or down. It's who is driving the cause of the petrodollar and who is benefiting from it. And if it's any of these countries that have leadership that will not just bend the knee to the United States and our foreign our military industrial complex, then you see what happens. Sanctions, and then eventually, you might have a weapon of mass destruction or two. You might have a chemical weapon or two. You might have Hezbollah randomly show up at your doorstep all the way in Venezuela. Come on, bro. You might have a guy try to, initiate a coup in your government with his iPhone filming it on YouTube live stream in portrait mode rather than landscape. We ain't gonna talk about that. That's a whole different discussion. But so the moral of the story is this is about Iran, nothing else. Saudi Arabia is probably caught off guard, to be honest with you. Like, they're like, bro, why are you bringing us into this? We did not agree to be part of this. Do you know that they are? Listen, y'all. Iran has double the army that Saudi Arabia has and triple the population that Saudi Arabia has. Double the army, triple the population, and have been waiting to fuck somebody up. Just waiting for a reason. Let me give you a quote. This is out of the Irish Times. Iran will pursue any aggressor, even if it carries out a limited attack, and seek to destroy it. The head of the elite Revolutionary Guard said on Saturday after the attacks on Saudi oil supplies, which Riyadh and U.S. officials blamed on Tehran. Be careful. A limited aggression will not remain limited. We will pursue any aggressor, the head of the guards, Major General Hossein Salami, said in remarks broadcast on state TV. We are after punishment, and we will continue until the full destruction of any aggressor. Does that sound like the quote of a person who would not admit to committing any type of attack? He is literally wishing a motherfucker would on national television, bruh. He don't care. Iran is ready to go. So do not test them. But once again, my fear is that they're putting our soldiers at risk specifically so they can be at risk. Love to know what your thoughts are about this. Leave a like and a comment below. But hey, always remember, more than anything else, people, find your balance. Peace. Hey, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you like that segment of Mikasa Sukasa. Also, you can help us upgrade the studio and take this show on the road to cover the on-the-ground politics that you love by clicking on that GoFundMe link in the description and donating literally anything. Anything helps. Also, you can follow us on Rockfin, on Twitter, and on Facebook as well. And hey, more than anything else, people, always remember,